who's back? What's up, everybody? It's Bren. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing good out there, and if you're not doing good, that's okay. So, I've been hesitant about making this video right here, but I put a lot of thought into it. I took the right steps in order to get to this point to talk about this. And I want to just put it out there and hopefully we can all learn together, right? So, as a content creator, I put myself out there in the public, and it's quite easy to talk about things when things are going well in my life. It's easy to share my life when things are going good. But when things slip off the track and things are not going so good, it's much harder for me to talk about it. I kind of want to hide away from it. I don't want to share, But I'm going to bring you back to last month, all right? So about 5 weeks ago, back in February, I had a slip, okay? I relapsed. I was sitting in a parking lot near a familiar bar, and my drinking brain caught hold of me, and before I knew it, I was sitting at a bar, and I was drinking. And I'm a binge drinker, so, that was it. I sat down, had a drink, and that was it for the day. I was drinking for the day, right? And, at that time, I had been about 7.5 months sober, maybe closer to 8 months sober, which is still amazing. I don't want to write that off. I still want to, give myself credit for that amazing stretch of sobriety. I learned a lot in those 7.5 months, but I slipped off the track, and relapses happen. When a relapse happens, what you're supposed to do is brush it off your shoulder, get back on track, take what you can from it, learn what you can from it and get back on track. But let me tell you what happened in my particular situation, because this wasn't just a relapse, all right? What eventually happened was a week later, after that relapse, I got back on the wagon, and I made it another week. And then I relapsed again, okay? I relapsed the following week. And I'm like, damn, Bren, twice? Shit, you know what I mean? Get it together, right? So I jump back on the wagon, and a week goes by, another relapse. And at this point, it wasn't even a relapse, okay? I realized that I had actually reverted back to my old drinking patterns from years ago, all right? Years ago. And I knew I was in trouble. And I started down this downward spiral of, regret and, just disappointment and anger and depression, just real bad depression. And not just that, it interfered with my progress. My progress in many ways, it interfered with me going to the gym on a regular basis. It interfered with my work patterns. My financial goals were not being hit. Some days I wasn't even working at all. And, financially, it was a major hit for me, because it's not just sitting at the bar ordering drinks, going from bar to bar. It's also going to the liquor store, buying booze, buying cigarettes. It's also, I had to get motel rooms some nights because I didn't want to be caught drinking in my car. Although I did have a couple of nights where I had to tough it out and just stealth mode it in the car and wait for the morning to come. Okay, so the past 5 weeks were incredibly dark. All right, so it got really dark at a few different points, and I'll get into how it affects my mind more in a bit. But let's go back to the first relapse. I want to explain how this first relapse took place, and this is something I learned, right? Usually a relapse is triggered by stress, right? Just you're overwhelmed, you want to escape reality. And that's what my drinking is. It's not just an urge to drink. It's an urge to escape reality. It's an urge to just turn off the switch in my brain and just avoid. All right. Drinking for me is avoidance. But this particular relapse was not triggered by stress. this one was actually triggered by success, all right? I was doing so well. I was kicking ass, right? I was over 7.5 months sober. I was crushing my financial goals. I was paying off my debt. I still am, but I was doing so well. I was going to the gym almost every day. I was feeling great. My vibe was much higher. And, I felt so good, right? I felt like almost like the drinking voice came in and was like, Bren, you're doing so good, man. Let's just see what happens. Just go for 3. You know what I mean? Go for 3. And even if you do relapse, you can get right back on, right? Even if you lose today, you can get right back on tomorrow and keep going. That's the drinking voice, okay? Trying to take advantage of me at a vulnerable moment. And that's exactly what it did. When my mind latches on to drinking, like when it makes the decision to drink, it's incredibly difficult for me to reverse out of that. It's incredibly difficult. And then I head into this state of just give that guy a second. Got my coffee here. By the way, beautiful day in the park. But let's continue, right? So when my mind decides to drink, I enter a state of cognitive dissonance. I'm not sure if you've ever heard about this, but I've read a couple of books about it. Cognitive dissonance is pretty much a tug of war in the mind. It's when one part of your mind knows it should not be doing something, and the other part of your mind only wants to do that thing. So it's a constant disagreement in the mind. Sorry, it's probably not the best place to film, but it's a beautiful day. It's kind of chilly though. It's actually very chilly and windy. So cognitive dissonance to me is so incredibly draining. It drains my energy. And throughout the past few weeks, I've been dealing with those a lot of cognitive dissonance. On the days where my brain decides that it's going to drink and I'm trying to fight it. Sometimes I go into the bar to start drinking just to avoid that cognitive dissonance. It's not just about the urge to drink. It comes at me from every direction. I have an urge to drink. I have an urge to escape my reality, my life, the fact that I kept recycling this idea of me ending up homeless on the street. I kept envisioning something happening to my car and I would end up on the street. Because I'm getting closer to getting a new car, and I was on that trajectory. I was moving very quickly towards it. But after the drinking started, my mind just goes into depression mode. It goes into anxiety mode, and this is what alcohol does. Alcohol is a natural depressant, and my drinking has a profound effect on my negative. It has a profound negative effect on my mental health. You know what I mean? To the point where I'm constantly depressed. I'm having suicidal thoughts. Like it gets very dark, and I'm not trying to worry anybody out there, but this is my reality. I do have thoughts where I get down so low, I do think about those things. You know what I mean? And this is what alcohol does. And it's no surprise to me that alcohol is tied to so many suicides throughout the world, but these thoughts don't come at me when I'm sober and I'm doing well, is the point that I'm trying to make, right? But going back to that first relapse, I was doing so well, my drinking voice caught hold of me at a vulnerable moment, and I went in and I started drinking. And I don't have 3 drinks, I drink for the rest of the day, I take the day off, and so on and so forth. So, weeks went by. And it was like I was drinking like 2 days and then taking like 5 or 6 days off and then falling back into the pattern. That's what was going on for about 5 weeks. All right. So how did I turn it around? When did I decide to actually, talk about this publicly? I realized that taking accountability for what was going on was the most important step in getting back on track. right? My son and I went to get our haircut just 2 days ago, right? We went to get our haircut. My last drink was St. Patrick's Day, which was the I believe it was it Saturday? No, I think it was Friday. I think St. Patrick's Day was Friday. And then me and my son went to get our haircut on Saturday. And then, yeah, so a couple of days ago. So it's been 3 days since my last drink. But anyways, my son and I go to get our haircut every single month, right? And at this point, I hadn't told anybody yet. I didn't share it with my family. I didn't share it with all of my subscribers out here. Didn't share it with my son, with anybody. And let me tell you right now, when you are keeping this thing to yourself and you're trying to battle this thing alone, it is 10 times harder to do so, because your drink demon has you in the corner. It has you all to itself, okay? It's much tougher to take on a crowd, all right? So when you team up with some loved ones or even anybody, that you can hold yourself accountable with, it's easier to tackle that demon with some people standing behind you, all right? So anyways, my son and I went in to get our haircut, right? We've been going to the same barber for the past, 7 or 8 months or something like that. I have a great barber, right? And I sat in the chair first. And my barber knows that I have a YouTube channel. If you're watching this, shout out to John, all right? He knows. And, I was sitting in the chair. He's asking how I'm doing and whatnot. And I said to myself, screw it. I'm going to tell this guy the truth. I'm going to share with this guy, I'm going to share with my barber what I've been going through. So I did, right? And that was my first step towards taking accountability in front of someone else, okay? And I shared with him what had been going on. He listened, he related, everyone has their own set of struggles. And it was incredibly helpful to unburden myself, and share with someone else what I was going through, all right? So big shout out to my barber for listening, understanding, and even relating to me, right? So I got off the chair, you know what I'm saying? Fresh haircut, got the beard trimmed up. And I tell you what, when I got off that chair, I felt much better. Barbers are a special kind of people. They don't just cut hair, that they have an ability to listen and understand and, relate. So, again, big shout out. Then my son got in the chair, man. My son got his cut. My son looking fresh. And it's a Saturday, I'm about to go play basketball with my son. And then I decided on the way over to the basketball court to open up to my son about what had been going on. Now, my son can handle this information. My son's known about my drinking, for a few years, you know what I mean? I opened up to my son years ago to explain to him, hey, Dad is going through this, because it has not been easy, for my son's mom. It hasn't been easy for my son, hearing about me go through these, relapses, or hearing about my drinking and stuff like that. So I have an open door policy with my son. If something's going on in our lives, we put it out on the table. We're honest about it. We talk about it. We share it, and we deal with it, right? And my son is very, very open to it, and he's very supportive. My son's an amazing young man, right? So I had no problem sharing that with him. So now I shared with my son. This was incredibly helpful. And I can tell you right now, the cognitive dissonance that I was talking about earlier, the tug of war of, am I going to drink today? It's a tug of war of, I want to drink today, but then I know I can't drink today. That cognitive dissonance has disappeared since sharing it with someone else, right? So sharing what has been going on was incredibly helpful. So I went on about my day. My son and I played some ball, had some lunch in the park, you know what I mean? And it's been 3 days, and I already feel great, all right? And I've got family I'm going to be seeing some family soon here in a few days. I have no problem sharing with them, you know, but to me, it's like, I don't want to worry people too much. You know what I mean? If people ask me how I've been doing, I'm going to say, yeah, I had a slip, but I don't want to go into too much detail on where my mind goes when I'm speaking to my family. I just don't like to worry, you know, people too much, you know, and I don't get into detail with my son either about, you know, the darkness in my mind, you know, the fleeting thoughts of suicide and, you know, extreme depression and hopelessness. You know what I mean? Because that's how I feel. That's how I feel when I'm caught in the trap. I feel hopeless. So I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey now towards, you know, hopefulness, if that's a word, right? So I'm hopeful again, all right, to get back on track. You know what I mean? And keep fighting this thing. I will fight this thing for life. Because my drinking is incredibly dangerous to me. It threatens everything that I love. It threatens everything that I have. I could lose everything. I could lose my job, my freedom, my son. I could lose my life, and you know what I mean? I could take someone else's life, you know, because getting behind the wheel with a few drinks, it's dangerous. It goes without saying, you know what I mean? So it's imperative that I stay off the booze, and you know, thankfully nothing tragic happened as I was going through this, but I'm on my, if I'm to continue to drink, I'm on my way towards tragedy. That is for sure. That is for sure. So I've got some new tricks up my sleeve. You know, one of those tricks obviously is taking accountability, not just by myself, but with others. You know what I mean? Other people that I see frequently, like my barber. You know what I mean? Others like my son, who I love. Or maybe my brothers or sisters, or, sorry, my brother, I have one brother, my siblings, or my mom, or something like that. Share it. You got to share it. All right? Open up. Talk about it. All right? So that was incredibly helpful. I do have another strategy, though, I want to share with you. So I have these wristbands. I only have one here at the moment, but I'm going to share with you just kind of how I keep track of my progress. It's something to look down at every day and kind of remind myself of where I'm at on this journey, and kind of just remind myself of the commitment that I'm making to myself. So these are just basic rubber bands, wristbands. This one here is white, all right? This white band represents one day, okay? This represents one day. So this is, I guess you could say, just a 24-hour commitment, right? So I've already done that. So I'm going to wear this, okay? Now, in 2 weeks, I'm going to give myself a yellow one, all right? Quick wins. I need quick wins in the beginning. In 1 month, when I achieve 1 month, it'll turn into an orange band, all right? In 3 months, it'll turn into a green band. And then in 6 months, it'll turn into a blue band. And then 9 months, it'll turn into a red band. And then when I get to a year, it'll turn into a black band. Does this sound familiar to anyone out there? So I used to do Taekwondo when I was a kid, and this is based off of the belt promotions from either Taekwondo or karate, all right? I know it's kind of unusual, but this is what I'm gonna do for myself. It's just a small little tactic. I've been doing it before, but I had to go back to white. So when you watch my videos, you'll be able to see where I'm at, because I'm taking accountability in public here just by telling my subscribers this. This is also helpful, so I appreciate you guys listening. But you'll see on my wristband, you know, where I'm at. And if I'm not wearing a wristband, it probably means I started drinking again. So let's keep these wristbands on, all right? Let's keep them on. All right. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I appreciate you listening, all right? This is what we go through as addicts, alcoholics, whatever you want to call it, your drinking problem. This is what we go through. We go through ups and downs. Quitting drinking is very hard, but staying off the drink is even harder. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, all right? So let's keep this thing going, all right? Strive for sobriety, strive for clarity, and strive for good health and success, all right? Because that's what sobriety does for me. It's the foundation. Okay. I'm gonna finish my coffee here, go for a walk, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.